Welcome to another one of Daniel Lee Plastering and Rendering's videos. In this little sort of how-to snippet, we will be showing you the processes of repairing some very damaged, cracked plaster internally on a bedroom wall. The damage was caused primarily from external damp getting through the render, so we'll discuss that a bit more. But the very first thing we do, as always, is fully protect the room. That's the carpets, the furniture, and you can see here this is a carpet roll protector. If you want to Google that, that's what that's called. It gets clear blue. The blue I'm using there is actually very low tack, so you can use that on windows. It's also great for hardwood floors. So the very first thing, cover and protect the area. Very important. And this is the wall in question. So it is a classic stress point above the windows there, and you can see the blistered paint and complete delamination of what is not that old plaster. So this has been replastered at some point within 5 or 10 years, I would say, and that has completely delaminated. Now you can see there I'm using, these are drop sheets, that is their name if you want to Google them. They're fantastic. They're basically polythene, rolled polythene with a little bit of masking tape at the top, and they come in various sizes. The ones I'm currently using, they're 2.7 meters drop, so you'll stick it at the ceiling line, and most buildings sort of 2.4 to 2.7, so these work for most properties. And then I am taping up the sides with my render tape. Also important to remove the curtain pole, because that's in the way there. Cracks here that are from the external rendering outside. Get rid of them. So this is what can happen if the water damage outside isn't treated. So quite often with render repairs, when we are called in to do a render repair, this section was all blown, the paint was blown, and more often than not, it is often down to the rendering. Sometimes we'll get hairline cracks, it'll let water ingress in that way, or guttering can get blocked and then it starts pouring down the wall and water damage it, or it can be the roof. And in this case, it's kind of a combination. So I've just taken a light scrape off this section that you can see behind me, and you can see there's significant cracks and chunks that were just sat there behind the paint. So the water was getting in from above, trickling down behind the paint when it eventually delaminated, and it's been getting in here, and that's what's been causing this section here. And then get a few of these issues dotted around the property, and then all of a sudden your entire house can need re-rendering. So it's best to keep on top of these, keep on top, keep an eye out for any little hairline cracks or any suspect areas. Keep those gutters clean as well. I'm afraid these, unfortunately, they're not dreadful actually, but they could do with a clean. And keep on top of those roof tiles as well. It all has a knock-on effect with everything else. You can see, I'll show you a little bit. This whole section is delaminated. Where the moisture has got in behind. This has actually been freshly plastered some point not too many years ago, as you can see. So you can see we've thoroughly protected the room, including the bed, although we've limited the mess. This is the area in question. You can see the damage has come through. It's delaminated this whole top layer of plaster. It is now fixed and will dry, so it's no longer going to get any worse. And this is nice and hard, which is good. So we'll now repair these. I will give all this scape. This is distemper. So sometimes in older properties you get this powdery surface and you don't want to plaster on top of that. That wants to come off, and you want a stabilising solution. Before it can be primed, you do want to remove as much loose and flaky material as you can, and so you'll see me there. That's why I'm going over it very thoroughly with the wallpaper scraper there, getting any loose and last bits of debris, and then that'll be ready to apply the primer. Also, I'm going to repair there's a few large cracks, so I am filling them with a sealant glue. You can see I'm just cutting out some cracks there as well. And then I'm going to fill them with the glue and then also stick reinforcement mesh over the top of them as well, before they then have the priming coat on top of that as well. This method is perhaps a little bit unusual. It's absolutely fantastic, so strong, and it will work an absolute treat. There are other methods, and traditional plasterers or typical plasterers might prefer to whack a bit of hardwall, thistle hardwall, or some bonding in there. Both work. Various fillers would work as well. I quite like using this method for smaller cracks, because it binds it so tightly. And then you can see there I'm putting the render mesh over the top as well. I'm going to make sure that's all reinforced, just in case there's any sort of movement that comes back. This should help prevent any of those cracks coming back over that stress point above the window. And then once that's done, we'll be able to get the primer on. This out. This particular primer is an incredibly strong one. I do quite like this one. It has an aggregate as well, a sort of 0.5mm aggregate as well, added into it, along with a stabilising solution. And it really is, so with this particular wall, it's the stabilising solution that is so crucial, because without that stabilising solution, the plaster may very well delaminate or pop off again. So it's super important to get a stabilising solution. I should note SBR isn't good enough for this. You do need an actual stabilising solution. So do be warned. But as I say, this particular product has it inbuilt. It's a fantastic one for this. The aggregate as well, when you want to feather in, because of the aggregate, I scrape away the edges that are going to be patched in, and that makes much easier to feather in later. It's just a small area, so I'm just going to mix up a small amount. About 2 litres. Also be adding some half time. So with this, add it into the water before you add the powder. Now, it's 1 tub per 5.5 litres, so I'm just going to add half of this here. Using my very accurate gauge. So there's about half left. Actually, that's good. Again, it's a very small mix, so just using my small paddle. When mixing small batches, I like to go off the about approximately a litre of water per square metre. It's probably more like 1.1 litres, but if you go for a litre, and then you can always add a touch more water if you need. And I find that works quite well when doing these smaller batches. One full bag, of course, does 10 square metres and requires about 11 litres of water. So quite a simple calculation, not that hard. Also, make sure you clean your tools straight away, because it's so easy to forget and just leave it sat there, and then the plaster will just turn and go hard on you, ruining your lovely mixing tools. And not forgetting to give the hawk and trowel a wipe. This helps lubricate the hawk and trowel to stop the plaster sucking in and drying and clumping around the edges too much. Now for the fun part. Actually put it on the wall. Yeah, and it's only a small patch, so I have added I've added an additive that will speed the plaster up as well. Very useful to use that. And it does need a bit of where it's been thoroughly scraped. I am having to apply it rather generously, so the plaster's going on quite thick. Still, total thickness will probably only be around 3, possibly 4 mil on this one, just where a little bit's come off, and I'm having to build it out just a touch to patch into the existing. So they're really not a problem at all. Right, it's only quite a small area, but it's a little bit faffy. Not too bad really. It's just got one small screw sticking out there where a curtain pole goes. I was able to get that without too much trouble. And then obviously, as soon as you're done, give all your tools a good old clean out, wash off, and pop them to the side ready for the next coat. Don't forget to wash out your bucket with your plaster in as well. Very important stuff. This bucket is only for dry tools, so tools that rust. And what do I keep in here? As a plasterer and a renderer, what would you expect to find in here? I will tell you all the random items I have in here. So, got to have your bonding half time. It goes in. Spare screws. They always get thrown in here. Stanley blades. Stiff, small cleaning tools. Square. Laser level measuring. It's actually a digital tape measure. Mini crowbar. Very useful. Of course, got to have my glues. I also have silicone spray, scissors, pencil. Everyone needs pencil. Now, might be some debate on this one. Tin snips. So these are your standard tin snips. We do get through them. But I've also got, I must admit, I don't use these that often, but some incredibly heavy duty tin snips for much tougher steel, and much softer tin snips for PVC. And this one, you'll notice, has the angles as well to help you. Electric screwdriver. Wallpaper scrapers. That one's actually needs a new blade. Another crowbar and a little dinky hammer. Full-size hammer. Another pair of tin snips. This one has a Stanley blade that you put in there, and that is for thinner PVC. Some more scissors. Mitre glue. A rasp or subform for plasterboard, of course. Tape measure. Yes, lots and lots of replacement knives, Stanley blades, another Stanley blade. This one's more for carpet protectors. A mini boat level, of course. Cable ties, another chunk of tape measure. I also like to keep some drop sheets in here. This is some small polythene drop sheets, some bigger polythene drop sheets, a little bit of fibre tape, 2 sizes, chalk line, almost there, chalk and wire. Now tell me, what do you keep in your dry tool? Applied, and it is now touch dry. So you see, it's just leaving a slight mark, but the plaster's barely coming off in my hands. So that is now ready for a flatten. For the flatten, I like to use a flexi trowel. This one is a Regal & Barnes 0.3mm flexi steel cork handle. From the EWI store. Very lovely trowels. And my feather in just where you're feathering into the original, you want a little bit of water. Everywhere else, you won't need any at all at this stage. If you need water for the main chunk, you've left it too long. So flatten. You might just need a little for around the edges, but okay. And now what I'll do at this stage, that rough bit of water for the feathering in. See, because I scraped off all those grains earlier, you can get it lovely and smooth. And now all I'm going to do is just clean up the ceiling line and the two edges. And we'll do that. I quite like using big wipes or grime wipes or any of these types of wipes that you can get. Clean them up real nice. They can even get any of the primer. If you made a bit of a mess with the primer, these grime wipes are really good at getting that off as well. Okay, and then here as well. Easiest to get it now, and it's soft. And also this edge. If you want to be super neat, you can actually just put some tape, masking tape or some render tape. It's my favourite, all around the edges. That works very well as well. Okay. Now just touch up those areas. I do like this trowel for flattening. If you need to press in any corners, it is too flexible. So I revert back to a harder steel trowel, or you can use a bit of extra pressure with your fingers, just when you need it. Now you see there, I've just jabbed it with my trowel. That is why you always want to keep a lump of fat spare to the side, so I can, when that happens, no drama, you can just pass it back in. You don't want to overwork this stuff, so I'm just going to try and get over it, give it a quick flatten. And then move it. If you spend too much time troweling it over, especially with a steel trowel, you can make it go a bit greasy and saggy. It doesn't look very nice, so we will try and avoid that. There we and then just the ceiling line. Excellent. Just a final touch up there. It's now looking pretty good. We'll now leave that a few more minutes until it's completely, doesn't leave any fingerprints at all, and then it'll be ready for wet trowel. Okay, this is now touch dry. You can see that's all going through nicely there. Okay, some water. I use my big brush for this. Big wrestling brush. So I'm going to go over it. It's a lovely big fat wet brush, this. Available from EWI store as well. Nice. Okay. And then and then towel over it. Okay, that's now ready for the cleanup. So I'll pop the curtain pole back up and now start emptying the room. So first things first, clear all the tools out of the way, then start with the protection, the cupboards, windows, bedding, and then the floor at the very, very end. Notice I gave it one last quick dry trowel there, and that is one finished repair. Brilliant, looking beautiful. Cleaner than when we arrived. Thanks for watching.